Last year around April, I had a new student and he wanted help for AP Physics. I asked him a very natural question: which AP Physics exam are you taking? And he looked at me with a blank stare. I thought there was only one AP Physics exam. And I said, actually no, there's actually 4 different exams. Which one are you taking? And when we found out the answer, it was shocking to me and him. I'll tell you exactly what happened at the end of the video. The reality is there isn't just 1 or 2 AP Physics courses. There's actually 4 AP Physics courses. In this video, I'm going to break down the 4 different AP Physics courses and their tracks, and I'll explain to you which one will be the right one for you to help you make a decision. First, we need to understand what's the difference between AP Physics 1 and AP Physics 2. Basically, AP Physics 2 is an extension of AP Physics 1. They have the same style but cover different topics. AP Physics 1 introduces students to the wonderful world of physics. It covers what's called mechanics. There are 8 topics in the course with things like motion and forces and energy. You can see here the 8 topics of AP Physics 1 laid out. AP Physics 2 picks up where AP Physics 1 left off and continues it on. That's why the first topic in AP Physics 2 is called Topic 9. AP Physics 2 doesn't really cover traditional mechanics. It has a new idea, which is electricity and magnetism, as well as a little bit of thermodynamics. AP Physics 2 every single year has a higher pass rate than AP Physics 1, sometimes much higher. Some people have wrongly concluded that AP Physics 2 is easier. AP Physics 2 isn't any easier. It's the same level of difficulty as AP Physics 1. Students that do well in AP Physics 1 may go on to AP Physics 2, which means the students that do the best are the ones going on to AP Physics 2. What's the difference between AP Physics C and AP Physics 1? Well, the first thing to say is that AP Physics C is actually 2 courses. There's AP Physics C Mechanics and AP Physics Electromagnetism, which we call E&M. The C stands for something. It stands for calculus, and the difference is really a difference in the level of math skills and mathematics required. If you compare AP Physics 1 to AP Physics C Mechanics, you'll see that the topics covered are almost identical. And actually AP Physics 1 has 1 additional topic more, so AP Physics C Mechanics covers the same material as AP Physics 1. It just uses calculus. We could say that calculus is integrated throughout the course. That's a math pun. For physicists, math really is a tool, and the more math and math skills that you have, the more tools you have to do physics. So AP Physics C is using the tools of calculus that not all students might have. For example, Isaac Newton, one of the founders of mechanics, actually invented calculus to help himself do physics better. He was a pretty smart guy. We can actually understand the difference between these 2 courses by looking at the prereqs. For AP Physics 1, Algebra 2 is actually a co-req. You could be taking Algebra 2 while you're doing AP Physics 1, and that would be fine. For AP Physics C, pre-calc is an absolute prereq, and calculus is a co-req. That is, you need to be already enrolled in a calculus class to be able to sign up for AP Physics C. If you can't do calculus, you can't do AP Physics C. So you can think of AP Physics 1 and 2 as a track of content in physics. That's an algebra-based track. And there's a second track, which is AP Physics C, Mechanics and E&M. These 2 courses cover the same material pretty much as 1 and 2, except they're integrating calculus the whole time. Actually, the C-level courses have less material, and that's to allow teachers to go deeper in the mathematics of the topics they do cover. Now, this raises an important question. Is AP Physics C harder than AP Physics 1? If you talk about mathematics, the answer is yes. For AP Physics C, you need calculus. Calculus is really hard and way harder than pre-calc or Algebra 2. So the mathematics that's required for AP Physics C is harder. However, I actually think that it's not really that correct to say that AP Physics C Mechanics is so much harder than AP Physics 1. To me, the really hard part about AP Physics 1 and C is not the math side. The math side is kind of a tool, but the course is designed to really force students to think about physics. AP Physics asks questions in this deeper understanding way that forces students to grapple with fundamentals and first principles reasoning. And that's true for both AP Physics 1 and AP Physics C and 2 and the other C. And so what this means is they're all kind of the same level of difficulty actually. And I don't think AP Physics C is that much harder than AP Physics 1. This is why at Blue Summit Tutors, we don't just teach students to memorize things or even just do plug and play questions. We teach students to grapple with the ideas to master the underlying concepts. We have group classes for all 4 different kinds of AP Physics. And in those classes, we really want students to go deep and be forced to think through the physics for themselves so they understand it for themselves. Which AP Physics should you take? If you look at the numbers, the majority of students take AP Physics 1. It's by far the most popular choice, and for many students, it may be the only one available. It's worth knowing you can mix and match. A lot of students might take AP Physics 1 and go on to do AP Physics 2, or they might take AP Physics 1 and go on to do C Mechanics and then C E&M. One of the tutors that worked for the company did all 4 in their high school curriculum. She took AP Physics 1 and that gave her a taste for what it was and loved it so much that she wanted to do all the others. That being said, AP Physics 1 is not a prereq for AP Physics C Mechanics. So some students are on a track where they just do the 2 C options together. There is quite a lot of flexibility about it. For most students, AP Physics 1 is the perfect introduction to a higher level physics course. It's a great challenge for any student looking to elevate their transcript. It has college level thinking for physics. It is highly recommended to any student eyeing a general STEM pathway. The course gives you a first year college level look at physics without needing the higher level calculus mathematics. AP Physics C, however, is built for students that are really serious about a STEM track. These are students that may be considering a career in physics itself or engineering or other close sciences like that. It does require a high level of mathematics, and usually the students taking this course are really setting their eyes set on a STEM career. Now, there's something I need to say about college credit. Many universities look at AP Physics 1 and 2 as equivalent to a physics course for non-physics majors, like a life sciences physics equivalent. If you really want to skip first year physics, you may need AP Physics C, especially if you're entering a competitive physics or computer sciences type program. My next video will deep dive exactly how colleges award credit. Remember my student? He didn't know which AP Physics exam he was going to take. When we finally got to see his registration, what had happened was crazy. At the very beginning of the year, his teacher handed out a little form to all the students. And the teacher said, just sign up for which exam you want to do. Well, my student had no idea. He didn't understand what he was doing, so he just kind of ticked some things. And when we found out what he was doing, we found out that he was going to do all 4 AP Physics exams. That's insane. So he went from thinking he was going to do 1 exam to having 4 separate exams. To do well in AP Physics, students really need to grapple with the concepts and be pushed to answer questions themselves in this deeper kind of a way. That's why I've created the 5 Club, a free community filled with free resources to expose students to the kind of thinking required to get a 5 in all the different AP Physics exams. This community also has a free weekly Q&A with me. Click the link below to get access to this free community today.